What if I told you that a handful of families, some with names you've likely never heard, quietly built and still influence the very backbone of Canada's economy? We're not talking about new money tech billionaires. We're talking about dynasties that turn things like fur, bread, and beer into fortunes so massive they're hard to fathom. Forget the politicians on TV or the CEOs on magazine covers. The real lasting power in Canada is often held by a small club of families whose wealth is older than the country itself. They have a hand in huge pieces of the economy, from the food in your fridge to the news on your phone. For over a century, these families have commanded global business empires, their legacies cemented in steel, stone, and stock certificates. Today, we're counting down 10 of the richest old money families in Canada. We'll dig into their surprising origin stories, reveal the empires they command, and show how their immense influence persists, often hiding in plain sight. Let's kick off our countdown with a name that's basically synonymous with Canada itself. Number 10, the Molson family. The Molson family is a classic old money dynasty whose name has been flowing through Canadian life for centuries. With a combined net worth estimated around $2 billion, their story isn't just about beer, it's about the very building of a nation. It all started in 1782 when a young John Molson from Lincolnshire, England, landed in Montreal. He didn't just see a colony, he saw a blank canvas. In 1786, he founded a brewery on the banks of the St. Lawrence River, creating what would become a legendary Canadian icon. But John Molson's ambition was bigger than brewing. The family's success allowed them and their descendants to build Canada's largest brewery, bankroll its first steamboat, and construct its first railroad. Not stopping there, they started Molson's Bank, which even printed its own money, cementing the family's power deep within the financial heart of Quebec and the rest of the country. Over the generations, the Molsons became more than just business titans. They became cultural guardians. The family has owned stakes in the Montreal Canadiens for generations, weaving their name into Canada's national sport. Heartland Molson not only expanded the brewery, but also co-purchased the Canadian Arena, which included the iconic Montreal Forum and the hockey club. Today, the legacy lives on through the Molson Coors Beverage Company, a global giant formed after a merger in 2005. While the family's direct control has lessened since the merger, they remain involved, continuing to shape the country through philanthropy. The Molson Foundation, established in 1958, has given millions to healthcare, education, and the arts, proving their influence extends far beyond the boardroom. Number 9, the Richardson family. At number 9 is a family you might not know as well as Molson, but whose impact on Canada's economy is just as foundational. The Richardson family is a dynasty built on grain, a quiet powerhouse from the prairies whose fortune was estimated at $9.43 billion in late 2024. Their sprawling enterprise, James Richardson and Sons, is a privately owned, family-run business now steered by the 5th generation. The story starts way back in 1857, when James Richardson, an Irish immigrant who began as a tailor, moved into the grain business. He'd been accepting farm products as payment and realized he could make more selling the grain than the clothes. That simple idea was the seed of a global giant. By the 1880s, his firm was a major player, shipping wheat directly to England. As the business shifted west, their influence grew. They were pioneers in every sense, launching the first radio stations on the prairies to broadcast grain prices to farmers and establishing Canada's first coast-to-coast airline before World War II. Today, Richardson & Sons is much more than an agricultural company. While still a titan in grain through Richardson International, their holding company has assets in oil and gas, finance, and real estate. Like many old money families, their influence is amplified through charity, especially their century-long link with Queen's University. They're a prime example of how a fortune built on a single commodity can grow, diversify, and quietly shape a nation for over 160 years. Number 8, the Gagliardi family. Our 8th dynasty, the Gagliardi family, took a different route to old money status, one built on hotels and smart diversification. With a fortune estimated by Forbes over $5 billion, the Gagliardi empire is a masterclass in turning a small loan into a continental conglomerate. The family's public legacy began with the famously charismatic Flying Phil Gagliardi, a BC cabinet minister in the 50s and 60s. But it was his son, Bob, who built the financial empire. In 1963, Bob started the business with just a $5,000 loan. 4 years later, he opened his first Sandman Inn in British Columbia. From that single property, he expanded relentlessly. Today, the family's private company, Northland Properties, is one of the largest privately held hospitality groups in North America. If you've ever stayed at a Sandman or Sutton Place hotel, or eaten at a Denny's, Moxie's, or Chop Steakhouse, you've contributed to the Gagliardi fortune. But the family's most famous move came in 2011, when they made a huge gamble, purchasing the bankrupt Dallas Stars NHL team for $240 million. It was personal for Bob's son Tommy, a diehard hockey fan who also co-owns the Kamloops Blazers. The gamble paid off spectacularly. Forbes now values the Dallas Stars at over $2 billion, a mind-boggling return. The Gagliardi story is one of relentless, quiet growth, proving that old money can be built fast and expanded even faster.
Number 7. The Aquilini family. From one NHL owner to another, our number 7 spot belongs to a powerhouse of British Columbia, the Aquilini family. With a fortune estimated to be in the billions, this family, led by patriarch Luigi Aquilini, runs a massive and diverse conglomerate that mirrors their home province's economy: real estate, agriculture, and hospitality. The Aquilinis started by buying older apartment buildings in Vancouver in the 70s and 80s. When real estate prices took off, Luigi sold them and pivoted to buying land and building new condo towers, a move that secured their future. Today, their company, Aquilini Investment Group, is a dominant force in Vancouver real estate. They own vast tracts of land, hotels, and through their Golden Eagle Group, operate 5,000 acres of farmland, including berry farms and golf courses. They even own dozens of Pizza Hut locations. Of course, the family is most famous for owning the Vancouver Canucks and Rogers Arena. They bought the team in a two-part deal ending in 2006, a purchase that wasn't without drama. It led to a bitter lawsuit with business partners, including Tom Gagliardi, who claimed they were unfairly cut out. The court ultimately sided with Aquilini, but it was a rare public peek into the high-stakes world these families inhabit. More recently, the family has been caught in messy internal legal battles that have pulled back the curtain on their empire. A lawsuit filed in September 2025 by Matteo Aquilini, a grandson of the patriarch, alleges a conspiracy by his grandfather and uncles to disinherit him and his father Paolo from the family trust. These court fights reveal the complex, often messy dynamics of passing such incredible wealth and power from one generation to the next. Number 6. The Katz family. At number 6, we have a story of modern empire building that changed the Canadian pharmacy landscape and revitalized a major city's downtown. Daryl Katz, with a net worth that recent estimates place between $3.5 billion and $7.4 billion, built his fortune in drugstores before making a huge pivot to sports and real estate. The son of a drugstore owner, Katz actually started out in law, but his entrepreneurial drive soon took over. In 1991, he founded the Katz Group and bought the Canadian franchise rights for the medicine shop for $300,000. That was just the start. He went on an acquisition spree, buying up struggling chains like Rexall and PharmaPlus. He rolled them all under the Rexall name, creating Canada's second-largest pharmacy business. By 2016, his empire was so massive that he sold it to the American giant McCain for a staggering $2.9 billion. Having cashed out of pharmacies, Katz turned his attention to his hometown. A lifelong Edmontonian and Oilers fan, he bought the NHL's Edmonton Oilers in 2008. But this wasn't just about owning a team. He had a vision. Use the city's need for a new arena as a catalyst to completely remake its downtown. He assembled 25 acres of land and unveiled plans for the Ice District, a massive mixed-use sports and entertainment district that has fundamentally reshaped Edmonton's urban core. Number 5. The Saputo family. The story of our number 5 family, the Saputos, is the classic immigrant dream written on a truly massive scale. This is a dynasty built from cheese, showing how specialized knowledge and relentless hard work can turn a few $100s into a global empire. It all started in 1954. After moving to Montreal from Sicily, the Saputo family, led by patriarch Giuseppe, founded their own company with just $500 for equipment and a bicycle for deliveries. Giuseppe was a master cheesemaker, and his son Lino had the drive to turn that craft into a business. They tapped into North America's growing love for pizza and mozzarella, and by the 1980s, Saputo was Canada's top mozzarella producer. Lino Saputo took over in 1969 and started expanding aggressively. The company went public in 1997 and then tripled in size by acquiring Stella Foods in the US. This became their blueprint for global domination. Saputo has since completed dozens of acquisitions, expanding into Argentina, the UK, and Australia, and buying up familiar Canadian brands like Dairyland and Armstrong. Today, Saputo Inc. is one of the top 10 dairy processors in the world. The family, now in its third generation of leadership, still retains control. With a family net worth estimated between $4 and $6 billion, the Saputos are also major philanthropists in Montreal, with their name on the city's soccer stadium. Number 4. The Desmarais family. At number 4, we meet a family that personifies quiet power. The Desmarais family of Quebec operates at the junction of colossal wealth and deep political influence. Through their holding company, perfectly named Power Corporation of Canada, they have shaped how money moves in this country for decades, all while keeping a profile so low it's almost secretive. The family fortune began with a rescue mission. Paul Desmarais Sr., born in Sudbury, took over his family's nearly bankrupt bus company and turned it around with incredible business savvy. But that was just a warm-up. In 1968, he gained control of Power Corporation and transformed it, focusing on financial services giants like Great-West Life and Investors Group. This created a financial behemoth, but the family's influence stretches far beyond the boardroom. They're famous for their deep ties to Canadian politics. Paul Desmarais Sr. was a close confidant of Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau and friendly with Brian Mulroney and Paul Martin. The connections are even familial. Paul's son Andreas is married to the daughter of former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien. Today, the family's net worth stands at over $12 billion, and the empire is managed by the third generation. While there's been some pushback from shareholders, the Desmarais family's dual-class share structure ensures their control remains firm. They aren't flashy, but in a country that often runs on quiet influence, the Desmarais family are masters of the game.
Number 3. The McCain family. You might think fortunes are only made in finance or tech, but our number 3 dynasty, the McCains, got rich selling frozen French fries. And they sell a lot of them. So many, in fact, that they're the world market leader, proving you should never underestimate a potato. It all started in 1957 in Florenceville, New Brunswick, not exactly where you'd expect a global food empire to be born. But brothers Harrison and Wallace McCain, whose family had been farming potatoes for decades, saw the future in frozen food. They launched McCain Foods with a simple idea: restaurant-quality fries you could make at home. From that one plant, they began a campaign of global expansion that was simply breathtaking. Today, McCain Foods is a frozen food giant, operating in over 160 countries. The family's journey, however, wasn't without a bit of drama. In the 1990s, Harrison and Wallace fought a messy and very public battle over who would succeed them. The feud was legendary in Canadian business circles. Ultimately, Wallace and his sons left McCain Foods and went on to take control of another food giant, Maple Leaf Foods. Despite the split, the McCain fortune remains immense, with a net worth estimated at nearly $14 billion. The family continues to control one of the world's largest frozen food companies, a testament to a powerful idea that started in a small New Brunswick town. Number 2. The Weston family. At number 2, we have a family whose name is impossible for any Canadian to avoid. From the food you buy at Loblaws to the prescriptions you pick up at Shoppers Drug Mart, the Weston family's empire touches the lives of millions of Canadians every single day. The dynasty started small. In 1884, George Weston, who began working in a Toronto bread factory at age 12, bought his own bakery. That single bakery was the seed that grew into one of Canada's most powerful empires. But it was the third generation, led by W. Galen Weston, who turned the family's Canadian holdings into the retail juggernaut we know today. He took over a struggling grocery chain called Loblaws, and with brilliant marketing and innovative brands like President's Choice, turned it into Canada's largest food retailer. The family's empire now centers on George Weston Limited, which has a controlling stake in Loblaw companies. In 2013, Loblaws made its biggest move yet, buying Shoppers Drug Mart for $12 billion, dramatically expanding their footprint. Today, the public face of the family is Galen Weston Jr., the fourth generation of leadership. With a personal net worth estimated at over $20 billion, he remains the chair of the board and the controlling shareholder. However, their dominance hasn't come without controversy. In recent years, the family has faced intense public anger over rising food prices, making them a lightning rod for criticism in a way that more secretive families often avoid. And number 1, the Thomson family. And now, we've reached the top of our list. At number 1, with a staggering fortune and an almost invisible public profile, is the Thomson family. They are, by a huge margin, the richest family in Canada, and their story is the ultimate example of old money power, strategic genius, and intense privacy. The Thomson dynasty was founded by Roy Thomson, the son of a Toronto barber. His beginnings were humble, but his ambition was anything but. In the depths of the Great Depression, he bought a small radio station in North Bay, Ontario, and soon after, a small newspaper. His strategy was simple: buy up small, struggling newspapers and run them with ruthless efficiency. By the 1950s, he had a media empire that stretched from small-town Ontario to the UK, eventually earning him the title Lord Thomson of Fleet. When his son Kenneth took over in 1976, he executed one of the most brilliant strategic pivots in business history. He saw that the future wasn't in newspapers, but in information. The family began selling off newspapers and investing heavily in financial data. The masterstroke came in 2008 when the Thomson Corporation acquired Reuters, creating the global information powerhouse Thomson Reuters. Today, the family's collective fortune is estimated to be as high as $90.2 billion. This colossal wealth is controlled by the third generation through their private holding company, Woodbridge, which holds the family's controlling stake in Thomson Reuters and owns the Globe and Mail newspaper. The wealth is distributed among Roy's grandchildren, with Sherry Brydeson being Canada's richest woman. The Thomsons are famously private, wielding their immense power quietly. They represent the absolute pinnacle of old money in Canada, a dynasty built from scratch, transformed by genius, and managed with a privacy that makes their power all the more formidable. From a single brewery on the St. Lawrence to a global data empire, the stories of these 10 families are woven into the fabric of Canada. They built railways, fed the nation, and shaped the flow of information, all while building fortunes through ambition, strategy, and vision. Their legacies persist, not just in their companies, but in the buildings that define our cities and the brands that fill our homes. So the next time you're shopping for groceries, reading the news, or watching a hockey game, you might just be bumping into the legacy of one of Canada's richest old money families. What do you think? Is it a good thing for a country's economy and media to be so heavily influenced by just a handful of families? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this look into Canada's hidden wealth interesting, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the powerful figures operating behind the scenes. Thanks for watching.